the faint scent of vanilla candles her stepmother adored, and the muffled bass of party music already warming the walls. But in her room, Emily sat at the edge of her bed, clutching the empty spot on her shelf where her camera used to sit. Her fingertips traced the dustless outline left behind, as if the absence itself mocked her. Her heart thudded violently against her ribs, the way it used to whenever she framed a shot through her lens. Except now, there was nothing. Only silence. Only loss. No, this can't be real. Her whisper cracked in the quiet. Emily stumbled to her closet, searching. Maybe they had moved it. Maybe it was safe somewhere else. But the truth echoed in the pit of her stomach before she even opened the doors. It was gone. Her door creaked open without a knock. "Emily?" Her father's voice, tentative. He lingered in the doorway, avoiding her eyes the way people do when they've already decided to betray you. She spun toward him, voice trembling with anger. "Where is it?" He sighed, shoulders heavy. "Sweetheart, listen. Where is my camera?" Her voice rose, louder than she expected, sharper than she ever used with him. His silence was the answer. And then the words followed, each one slicing into her. We had to sell it. Just for now. Your sister's party. It's important." She only turns 18 once. Emily's stomach hollowed. "You sold my dream to buy balloons and cake?" "Not just that," he muttered, eyes darting to the floor. "The dress she wanted, the DJ, the decorations. You know how much this means to her." Her laugh was bitter, dry. "And what about me? What about the years I spent saving, the extra shifts at the cafe, the coins I counted like they were gold? That camera wasn't a toy, Dad. It was mine. It was my future." From the hallway, a new voice floated in, sugar-coated and cruel. "Oh, come on, Em. Don't be so dramatic." Her stepsister, Chloe, leaned against the doorframe, curling a strand of her freshly styled hair around her finger. She wore the glittering silver dress Emily instantly recognized, the one Chloe had been eyeing online for weeks. Emily's breath hitched. "You knew?" Chloe smirked. "Of course I knew. You don't actually think photography is a real career, do you? At least my party will be something people remember. Isn't that worth more than your hobby?" A rage unlike anything she'd ever felt surged through Emily. Her hands shook, not from weakness, but from the storm clawing at her chest. "That hobby was the only thing that made me feel like I mattered." Her father stepped forward, his voice soft, pleading. Please. It's just a camera. We'll get you another one someday. Tonight, just try to understand. Just a camera." The phrase echoed in her mind, and something inside her cracked. Just a camera. As if it wasn't the lens through which she saw the world. As if it wasn't her language when words failed. As if it wasn't the dream she built when everyone else dismissed her. Her throat burned. She couldn't breathe in that room, in that house, in that family that had never really been hers. Emily turned toward her bed, pulled out the small backpack she kept tucked away, and shoved her essentials into it with trembling hands. A few clothes. Her sketchbook. The tiny collection of printed photographs she had left. Memories she'd captured before her world was ripped away. "Emily," her father said again, this time with panic. "What are you doing?" She zipped the bag shut, her eyes wet, but her voice steady. "I'm leaving," Chloe snorted. "Where will you even go? You have no money, no camera, nothing. You're pathetic." Emily paused at the doorway, bag slung over her shoulder. She turned, meeting Chloe's smug gaze with a look so sharp it silenced the girl's laughter. "Pathetic?" Emily's voice was quiet but powerful. "At least I don't need to steal someone else's dream to feel important." Her father reached for her arm, desperation flickering in his eyes. "Emily, don't do this. Please. You'll regret it." She pulled away. "No, Dad, I regret trusting you." The words stunned him into silence. For the first time in her life, Emily saw her father not as her protector, but as the man who chose someone else's sparkle over her fire. She opened her bedroom door wider, the hallway light spilling across her face. Her steps were steady, each one carrying the weight of years she had swallowed her feelings, each one breaking chains she never realized had been holding her back. The living room erupted in laughter as she walked past. Her stepmother, too, caught up in party, plans to notice the girls slipping away. Music pounded against her chest, mocking her heartbeat. Emily reached the front door. Her hand lingered on the knob for one last moment, a final hesitation, the kind born of love too stubborn to die, even when it's been betrayed. But then she exhaled, turned the knob, and stepped outside. A night air slapped her cheeks, cold and real. Streetlights glowed like watchful eyes, and the distant hum of cars carried a strange sense of freedom. For the first time, the world outside her house didn't look frightening. It looked like a blank canvas. Her fingers brushed the zipper of her bag, where her photographs were tucked away. They were proof that her eyes still worked, that her vision still mattered, that her dreams still breathed, even without the camera. Emily walked down the street, each step away from home, a step toward something she couldn't name yet. Her heart ached, her chest tight with loss, but somewhere beneath the grief, a whisper rose. This isn't the end. It's the beginning. The bass of Chloe's party music faded behind her. Ahead, the city stretched wide and endless, filled with shadows and lights, promises and dangers. Emily tightened her grip on her bag strap. Her tears blurred the glowing lamps above, turning them into halos of gold. She didn't know where she was going, but she knew one thing with piercing clarity. She would never forgive them for selling her dream. And as her feet carried her into the night, she vowed silently, "If they took away my camera, I'll find another way to capture the world. I'll make them see me. I'll make them regret this." The night peeled the city to bones and brightness. Emily walked, her backpack metronomy against her spine. She kept to the rivers of light under street lamps. The halos blurred whenever she blinked. Tears kept adjusting the aperture of her grief. She tried not to frame anything. Habit composed shots anyway, steam lifting from a manhole, a neon sign in a puddle, a newspaper skating the curb. Don't, she told herself. You don't get to keep it. You don't have a lens anymore. At the corner bakery, warmth rolled through the door in a buttery wave. She glanced in tile floor, glass case glowing with sugar, a barista rinsing cups. The door bumped her shoulder. A box slid, a paper bag dipped, and she collided with a stranger whose balance and smile survived both. "Oh," he said, soft and surprised. The box teetered. A tin of frosting rattled across the sidewalk. "I'm so sorry," Emily blurted, catching the box from below. They steadied it together. The paper bag, wedged between his cheek and shoulder, smelled like cinnamon and rain. "It's not you?" he said, angling his head so the bag could breathe. "It's gravity. Mean little law." His fingers were spattered with pink blue crescents on his nails, a gilt smear along his thumb. "Eli," he added. "Emily," she said. They crouched for the runaway tin, bumping foreheads, then laughing because the alternative was crying. A thread of rain stitched the air. Eli tilted his face toward the clouds. "She's opening up," he said. "There's a studio a block away. Mine temporarily. You can wait out the weather. I have towels. And a few opinions about tea." Every alarm her father had taught her flickered. But kindness, correctly lit, can look like a room with windows. She measured him paint on skin, pastries, open expression. "Just until the rain gives up," she said. "Just until." He lifted the box. "Come on, Emily, probably not a box thief." They walked. The city smelled like wet concrete and oranges. "You paint?" she asked, because silence made the night louder. "I do," he said. "Or I try until the canvas throws me out. I fix chairs, too. Chairs are kinder critics." He glanced sideways. "You look like you notice things that try not to be noticed." "I used to," she said, the past tense metallic. "I took photos. My camera and I." "On a break? Mutual?" He asked. "Decided without me," she said. The studio perched above a locksmith. Eli's stairs creaked like honest floorboards. He shouldered open a stubborn door, and the room unfolded. High windows freckled with rain, drop cloths like pale continents, canvases along the walls. The air held turpentine, coffee, and pastry. He flicked on a lamp that bloomed gold. "Shoes anywhere," he said. "Judgment nowhere." He set a kettle on and arranged the cinnamon rolls like guests. Emily hovered near the door until the rain raised its volume. She exhaled and stepped farther in. One canvas caught her eye, a horizon painted with bruised blue. At the edge, a thin thread of light made the whole thing breathe. "Tea?" Eli asked. "Options include peppermint, consolation, and badly labeled." "Consolation," she said. "It negotiates," he said. "So, Emily Dash with Dash the Dash old Dash talent. What stole your camera?" She could have lied, but the studio felt like a place that punished lies by dulling color. "My parents sold it," she said, "to pay for my stepsister's party." Eli winced like a canvas tearing. "I'm sorry. They said it was just a camera," she said, anger flaring. "But it was the only language that didn't talk back." "I've been told paint is just mess," he said. "Usually by very clean shoes." He handed her the mug. "To irreducible things." She cradled the heat. Lightning blinked, a slow shudder. Rain softened into a rhythm you could breathe. With Eli set the pastry box between them on a paint-scarred table. "These are peace treaties," he said. "One bite and the planet forgives itself for 20 seconds. Does it forgive, sisters?" Emily asked, tearing a corner of icing. "For 20 seconds at a time," he said. They ate in quiet until the quiet felt sturdy. Emily walked the room with her eyes, cataloging color the way she used to catalog light. A small canvas leaned near the window. A lamppost in rain, the glow fractured into petals. "This," she said. "How did you make the light look wet?" "Knife work," he said. "Drag, lift, don't over-explain." "That was my rule for portraits," she said. "Wait for the breath between words. That's where the face tells the truth." His smile was quick. "You talk like a person who didn't just have her heart stolen by relatives." "It's easier in here," she admitted. "Your walls keep the world at an adjustable distance." "They try," he said. "I rent them by the month." He hesitated. "Do you have a place to go?" "I can call a cab." "Or a friend." "I have." "Options," she lied. "A city is a kind of couch." Eli didn't pry. "You can crash here," he said. "Door locks. Windows whistle in a minor." "I'll take the floor." She shook her head, then stopped. Pride and safety wrestled. "Maybe just for a few hours," she said. "Until the rain forgets my name." He nodded like nothing unusual. He fetched a towel. She dabbed at her hair, trying not to see her reflection in the window. The girl who had been weighed and traded. "Tell me something true," Eli said, leaning against the table. "Doesn't have to be big. I hate how birthday candles smell after they go out," she said. "Like warm pennies." "I like that smell," he said. "My turn. I keep a brush that's technically dead because it remembers my favorite blue." She laughed, the sound a little raw. "Do you always collect ghosts?" "Only useful ones," he said. "Do you have one?" "My grandmother's scarf," she said. "It still carries her perfume if I'm careful." I used it as a diffuser once. The room felt like her hands. Keep talking like that, and my walls will take notes, he said. They traded small stories until the kettle cooled and the rain thinned to a hush. Emily's body realized it was exhausted. She sat on the edge of the narrow bed beneath the slanted pane and watched drops ladder down the glass. City light made ladders into liquid gold. Eli spread a blanket on the floor. I talk in my sleep, he warned. Mostly cease and desist letters to my paintings. I won't report you, she said, easing back onto the pillow. Silence widened. Questions crowded. What happens tomorrow? What if no one looks for her? What if they do? Emily? His voice was careful in the dark. Yes? If you ever want no pressure, but if you wanted to take a picture again, I have an old film camera. It's stubborn and heavy and thinks it's a piano, but it works. You could borrow it. Her chest tightened in a way that wasn't pain. Why would you trust me with that? Because you looked at the lamppost painting and asked how the light was wet, he said. People who ask that don't steal pianos. She stared up at the dim rafters until tears found her ears. The offer wasn't a camera. It was oxygen with fingerprints. Maybe tomorrow, she whispered. If the rain approves. The rain usually approves of art, he said. Less so of roofs. They fell quiet again. Emily memorized the way the room held her, not tightly, not loosely, but as if she were a frame in the air, a photograph developing inside her. She closed her eyes. For the first time since the empty shelf, the world felt not unkind, but unfinished. Sleep arrived like a careful editor, trimming the jagged edges of everything that had come before. The loft smelled of rain and turpentine, a ribbon of cinnamon still floating from the night's rescue pastries. Emily stood just inside the door, with her backpack strap braided in her fingers, measuring space the way she used to measure light. Canvases leaned along the walls like tall, listening strangers. In the nearest, a storm-breathed slate blue with a narrow seam of gold that kept the dark honest. The boy with paint on his hands, Eli, shook rain from his hair and set 2 mugs on a crooked table. Water? Tea? He asked. It's your call, cautious the tone of someone who knows what it is to be told no. Water, she said. Her throat felt like chalk. He handed her a glass, and after a beat, propped the door with a folded book. Helps the room breathe, he said. Helps people breathe, too. Emily took in the details the way she always had. The lamp's slanted shade, the paint-scarred table, brushes in a jar like a bouquet of exhausted fireworks. Do you always paint storms? She asked, tilting her chin toward the blue canvas. Only when I'm trying not to, he said. They sneak in. I set up a bowl of pears, and somehow the sky throws a fit. She smiled without permission. The light keeps the dark honest, she murmured, more to herself than to him. His gaze flicked over, quick and bright, like someone hearing their native language in a foreign city. You see like that a lot? When I had a camera, she said, and the past tense hurt more than expected. He didn't press. You don't owe me a story. I kind of want to tell one, she said, surprised at her own voice. My parents sold it. To pay for a party. He did not rush to outrage. His shoulders changed shape, as if accommodating a weight he recognized. The worst part, he said, is when people shrink the name of your love, make it a hobby, a toy, as if small words could fill the hole they leave. Emily laughed once, broken and grateful. Yes, that? He set the kettle on the hot plate. Let me make tea, he said. Not consolation permission. Cinnamon, clove, something my aunt swears isn't oregano. Permission for what? To keep being what you are, even after someone sells the name of it, he said. To begin again without apologizing. You talk like you paint, she said. Mess that understands itself. I'll embroider that on an apron, he said. What did the camera give you? The pause, she answered. The breath the world takes when it knows it's about to be seen. Keep that, he said. No one can pawn a breath. He passed her a chipped mug. Hairline cracks made a constellation across the glaze. I break things accidentally and love them more for confessing. She held heat between both palms. The tea tasted like the word still. A smaller canvas leaned near the window. A study of hands older, strong, a cup anchored between them. Self-portrait? My mother, he said, warmth and ache braided in the syllables. She runs a diner. Those hands hold half the town together. You caught the soft fight in them, Emily said. Love that stands on tile for 10 hours. He nodded. Who taught you light? A neighbor. Old photojournalist with a scar through his brow from a protest in '89. He'd say, photograph what the air is doing to the people. He broke my pictures with kindness. He sounds like a good ghost to keep. They let quiet do some work. The city's urgency thinned to a damp hush. Eli knelt and slid a scuffed camera bag from under a cabinet. He placed it on the table with reverence and unzipped it, lifting out a 35mm film camera heavy, serious, its body dinged, its lens clean and patient, the leather strap worn smooth by another shoulder. It was my uncle's, he said. Parades, county fairs, my mother when she let him. He left it with me when he moved to Florida with a woman who collects sea glass. Emily did not reach. She looked the way people look at water after a long walk. Eli, she breathed, the name tasting like gratitude and fear. You don't have to say yes, he said. But if you want to borrow it, no time limit, no essays about your process, consider it permission in object form. What if I break it? She asked, and we fix it, he said. Or we love it more for confessing. Her laugh startled her. She let her fingers close around the camera's weight. It balanced differently than her own had, more stubborn, oddly comforting. The lens looked up like a creature that forgives slowly and only once. Film? Somewhere, he said, rummaging until he found a dusty canister. Expired, which is half the point. Ghosts in the graying. Morning light hits the buildings across the street like it wants to apologize. We could shoot. We? If you want. I make adequate coffee and can carry things quietly. She felt the shape of exhaustion arrive all at once. Adrenaline folded. Gravity reintroduced itself. She set the camera down gently, as if placing a child in a crib. You can sleep here, Eli said, already spreading a blanket on the floor. I'll take the rug. The dust and I have an understanding. I don't want to be a problem, she said, that old family script walking out of her mouth. He looked at her the way an artist studies a horizon. Try a different sentence, he said. You're not a problem. You're a person who had something stolen. Tonight you rest. She followed it. Shoes off, she sat on the bed beneath the slanted pane. The sheets smelled like laundry soap and the last rain that slipped under the window. The camera's silhouette kept watch from the table, a small animal guarding the dark. Do you think they'll notice I'm gone? She asked into the nearly dark. Maybe, he answered. Maybe they'll notice in a way that isn't the way you want. Sometimes that's worse. Yeah. She tasted the truth like a coin held too long. You're here, he said. That's the part the fear can't edit. They let the sentence settle between them like a hand near, not touching. Tell me something true, he said softly. I hate the smell of birthday candles after they go out, she said. Like warm pennies. I like it, he said. It smells like almost wishes, she exhaled slowly. A small piece unfolded. Sleep came in trust falls. When she drifted, she saw morning, coffee steam, the old camera waking, Eli's storm widening along its pale seam. For the first time since the empty shelf, the future didn't feel like a locked door. It felt like a hallway with windows. She didn't know how long safety could be rented or whether borrowed tools could teach lost hands. But on the bright edge of exhaustion, she felt an exact truth. Fractures don't always mean broken. Sometimes they're where the light remembers how to enter. Outside, rain softened. Emily closed her eyes and let the boy with paint on his hands stand guard against the night. Emily woke to the smell of coffee. For a moment, she forgot where she was. The ceiling above her sloped, cracked in one corner where rain had once pushed its way in. A shaft of sunlight broke through the window, striping across her arm like a painter's first brushstroke. The air hummed with faint traffic, the world outside slowly rousing. Her backpack lay slumped against the wall, her shoes neatly aligned beside it. And then, a sound, a low whistle, off-key but steady. She pushed herself up, brushing hair from her face. Across the loft, Eli stood at the hot plate, hair tousled, t-shirt paint-stained, pouring coffee as if he were making a secret offering to the morning. He noticed her and smiled, sheepish. "Sorry, my whistling is a crime." "Didn't mean to wake you." "You didn't," Emily said, voice rough with sleep. "The sun did." "Well then, blame her," he said, nodding toward the window. "She's been bossy since dawn." Emily found herself smiling, small but unforced. She pulled her knees up under the blanket, feeling the difference in her body. She wasn't tense. For the first time in weeks, she hadn't dreamed of doors slamming or voices dripping with dismissal. Eli carried 2 chipped mugs to the table and set them down. Steam curled upward, twisting with the dust motes that danced in the light. "I only own bitter coffee," he admitted. "But it's honest. Like someone who warns you they're bad at dancing and then actually is." Emily padded across the cold floor, barefoot. She accepted the mug, inhaling the dark scent, letting it warm her palms. "Honesty's underrated," she said. They sat opposite each other at the paint-scarred table. Between them, brushes leaned in their jar like weary soldiers. One of the canvases caught her eye again, the storm one, streaked with gold. "Did you finish it?" she asked. Eli followed her gaze. "No, storms don't like endings. They just like changing names." She sipped her coffee, grimaced at the bitterness, then laughed at her own face. Eli chuckled, shaking his head. "I warned you. Guess honesty stings sometimes," she said. Their laughter echoed, soft and surprised, as if it belonged to strangers who hadn't earned it yet. But it filled the room with something steady. "So," Eli said, leaning back in his chair, "what's the story of Emily?" Besides the camera theft, which is already cinematic, Emily hesitated, tracing the rim of her mug. "I used to think if I could capture enough pieces of the world, I'd prove I mattered, that I wasn't invisible. My parents, they never really looked at me unless it was to compare me." Chloe's louder, shinier. "I became the quiet shadow with a lens." "And in your photos?" he asked gently. "I wasn't quiet," she whispered. "I was present, like I had permission to exist." Eli's eyes softened. "That's not nothing, Emily. That's everything." She looked at him, startled by the sincerity in his voice. No one had ever called her everything. "And you?" she asked. "What's Eli's story, besides storm conspiracies?" He rubbed the back of his neck, leading a faint streak of blue. "My dad wanted me to fix engines. Side paint doesn't feed anyone." Maybe he was right. "I left home at 19, rented this place when it was nearly falling apart. I patch it with canvases, like a kid taping up holes with paper drawings." "Doesn't sound like failure to me," Emily said. He laughed softly, without bitterness. "Depends on the light. Some days, these canvases feel like unfinished apologies." Emily tilted her head. "Or unfinished beginnings." Their eyes met across the table, and silence settled, not awkward, but full, like a chord waiting for resolution. Eli broke it by sliding something across the wood. The old film camera. Still want to try? Her breath caught. She brushed her fingertips along the cool body, the worn strap, the tiny scratches that carried other lives. I don't even know if I remember how. Good, he said. That means you'll see like it's the first time. She laughed, soft and nervous, setting the camera back down. You make everything sound like poetry. I make everything sound like excuses, he countered. Poetry's kinder. The window light shifted, spreading wider across the loft. Emily let herself imagine lifting the camera, framing Eli right there, hair messy, paint smudged, smile crooked. She didn't take the picture, but the image clicked inside her mind. They finished their coffee slowly. In sips that stretched time, Eli stood, rinsing his cup. There's a street fair 2 blocks over, he said. If you want to see color that doesn't sit still, it's worth it. Loud, messy, alive. The kind of thing a camera likes. Emily froze, the thought of being outside with him both thrilling and terrifying. I don't know. No pressure, he said. The fair doesn't mind if we ignore it. We can stay here. Paint storms, drink bitter coffee, listen to the roof complain. His gentleness disarmed her. She nodded slowly. Maybe. Maybe later. Later is acceptable, he said with a smile. The clock ticked. Emily realized she didn't dread the next minute. That was new. She looked around the loft, again messy, imperfect, alive. Somehow it already carried the shape of safety. Eli leaned against the counter, watching her with quiet eyes. You know, he said, laughter suits you. Like it remembers you even when you forget. She flushed, caught between embarrassment and warmth. Careful, you'll make me want to keep it. Keep it, he said, simple, certain, asterisk. Afternoon turns brighter, as if the city wants to prove last night's rain was rehearsal. Eli props the windows and lets the loft breathe. Emily loads the film with careful thumbs, tongue peeking at the corner of her mouth, the way it did when she was a kid tying laces. A click of the back closing sounds like a door, deciding to be kind. Ready? He asks. Ready enough, she says. If the camera refuses me, I'll bargain. We have cinnamon bribes, he says, grabbing his keys. Cameras respect pastry law. They step into a street washed clean. Booths bloom along the block. A violinist pours sunlight into the air. A kid with a bubble wand leaves galaxies hovering. Emily lifts the old camera and inhales. The world shifts, sharpening, as if the lens spins truth into focus inside her chest. She frames a woman pricing mangoes, a dog's nose pressed to a balloon, 2 hands exchanging coins in gratitude. When she lowers the camera, Eli is watching her, not the fair. What? She asks, warmed. You look like you're home, he says. She steals a portrait of him, forearm speckled blue, smile uneven, eyes holding weather and shelter. They move in easy orbit. She shoots the vendor's rings catching sun. He sketches on the condensation, a triangle of mountains nobody else can see. For an hour, the present is generous. There is air where shame used to be. Her phone buzzes. She ignores it. It buzzes again and again. She finally flips it over. Missed calls, a dozen messages, father, stepmother, Chloe. A photo loads, the party's cake sparkling. The caption, unforgettable night. Family is everything. Emily's ribs go tight. Eli reads her face, not her screen. Want to sit? I want to throw this into the river, she says. And then photograph the splash. They sit on a quiet stoop, shoulders almost touching. The violin down the block finds a minor key. You can answer, he says. Or not? There's no correct ritual for grief. Grief, she repeats, surprised by the rightness. They sold it, and now they want me to applaud the fireworks they bought with it. What do they want? She skims a message. To come home. To be reasonable. To understand family sacrifices. She laughs brittle. They mean my sacrifices. Eli studies a fray on his cuff. When my dad said paint wasn't work, I left. He called it disrespect. I thought stubbornness would prove love wrong. It didn't. It only made us strangers with a last name. Do you ever think about going back? Every week, he says. And every week I'm still the kid who wanted one person to say, the color isn't a mess. Wind lifts napkins. The violin wobbles, then returns. Emily nods slowly. I can't go back, she says. If I do, the part of me that looks at light will dim to fit their room. Then don't, he says. She pockets the phone, finally. She photographs a dancer mid-spin. In the viewfinder, all choices look momentary and correct. Outside it, they bloom thorns. Back at the loft, the afternoon folds into gold. Eli pins a fresh canvas. You shoot, he says. I'll make sense of a horizon. Trade, she says, playful. You pose. Only if I can lie about my good side. She frames him by the window. He lifts his chin too high on purpose. She lowers the camera. Stop trying to be handsome, she says. And the room brightens. They are close enough now to feel the warmth of each other's breathing. Calm wants to be a kiss, then hesitates. He glances at her mouth and away. She lifts the camera and hides there, which is also a confession. Her phone buzzes again. This time the screen fills with a text from her father. Come home now. Then, I sold IT because we needed to. Be reasonable. Then, your sister is crying. Something detonates. Of course she is, Emily says, voice low. She must be exhausted from getting everything. Eli sets the brush down. Hey, he says carefully. Let's breathe. Don't tell me to breathe, she snaps. When people say that they mean be quiet, so we don't have to hear what we did, I don't mean that. Then what do you mean? Her hands are fists. Should I go back? Say thank you for teaching me my dreams are negotiable? His jaw tightens. I think you should get your documents, passport, papers. Not for them. For you. You can't live on principle and 3 t-shirts. She flinches, hearing a verdict. Wow, practical advice. Should I make a list? Camera, gone. Dignity, optional. Emily, he says softly. I'm trying to help you stay whole. Whole. She laughs wrong and sharp. You, who won't even call your father, telling me how to be whole. He looks as if she slapped him. That isn't fair. It's accurate, she says. You paint storms, because calm would tell you something you don't want to hear. He blinks. The room tips. And you take pictures because you're scared of being in them? He says, not cruel, but not kind. Standing unframed terrifies you. Silence cracks. The wall clock counts like an accusation. I should go, she says. He runs a hand through his hair, paint smearing sky blue. I don't want you to. I don't want to be somewhere I'm a problem. You aren't a problem. The rent notice on your counter says otherwise. She hadn't meant to see at the envelope, peeking under a sketch, the number impossible. You didn't tell me. I didn't want your first morning to taste like that, he says. So I'm a charity case, she says, the lie hot. No, he says louder. You're a person. And I'm a person who can't always afford walls. Those are different. She turns away, winded by shame and fear braided too tight to separate. The camera waits on the table, patient and heavy. Say the word, he says, and I'll drive you to your house. You can stay in the car. I'll go to the door. I'll get what you need. I don't need a driver, she says. I need the world to stop asking me to be reasonable about its cruelty. He closes his eyes. I don't know how to do that. I only know how to make coffee and carry boxes and choose you in the middle of my storms. Choose you. Her chest lurches. Chloe calls. Emily answers because not answering has become a different kind of surrender. Where are you? Chloe demands. Dad is freaking out. You're being selfish. You ruined my night. I ruined your night? Emily says, a new calm arriving. You sold my future. Oh my God, you're obsessed, Chloe says. It was just a camera. The real model, Emily says steadily. Buy me the same one you sold. Since family is everything, I'm not responsible for your choices. Chloe snaps. And I'm not responsible for your parties, Emily says, and hangs up. She turns to Eli, shaking. He steps forward, then stops, unsure of permission. Do you want? I want the river, she says. I want to put my face into the wind until it rewrites me. He nods, finding his jacket. Outside, clouds gather like unspoken sentences. They walk without speaking, the city falling into pre-storm hush. At the bridge, water muscles past, dark and insistent. Emily grips the railing. The old camera hangs at her hip like a heartbeat. Throw the phone, Eli says gently. Not the camera. She laughs once, then sobers. I don't know if love is worth reopening old scars, she admits. With them. With anyone. You're asking a person made of reopened paint, he says. It hurts every time. It's also how the color becomes true. First drops tap the rail. She looks at him, rain starting in his eyes before the sky arranges its alibi. What if we hurt each other? We will, he says. The choice is whether we also help each other heal. Lightning licks the far buildings. Emily raises the camera, frames the river and the bruised blue sky and the man beside her who makes the world feel larger than the wound. She clicks. The shutter is a vow she doesn't yet understand. Thunder answers, nearer now. Eli touches her elbow. We should go, he says. We should, she agrees, but does not move. The rain makes its decision, sudden and absolute. In the first cold sheet, every word they said becomes a bright, impossible thing they'll have to hold. The storm broke as if the sky had been holding its breath too long. Emily ran, her sneakers slapping the pavement, her backpack dragging like a weight she couldn't shake. The bridge lights blurred through rain, each one a bleeding halo. The air was sharp with ozone, thunder grumbling like a beast pacing its cage. Her chest burned. She didn't know if it was from the sprint or from the fight. The words still rattled inside her, sharp as glass. You paint storms because calm would tell you something you don't want to hear. She hated herself for saying it, hated him for being right about her fear, hated the family that had carved this wound in the first place. Emily. His voice carried through the storm, closer than she wanted, farther than she needed. She kept moving until the water made the street a river. When she finally slowed, gasping, he was there, drenched, hair plastered to his forehead, chest heaving. His paint-stained hands hung helpless at his sides. Don't, she started, but her voice cracked. She turned away, leaning on the railing, rain sliding down her face like punishment. The river below churned. Black and furious. Eli approached slowly, as if she were a wild animal that might bolt. I had to follow, he said. His voice was raw, not loud enough to fight the thunder, but she heard it anyway. I couldn't let you drown in this alone. You don't get it. She spun toward him, water dripping from her lashes. You don't know what it's like to always be the one who has to shrink, who has to bleed so someone else can glow. I do, he said, and his voice cracked, almost a shout now. Every time my father looked at me and said art was worthless. Every time. I painted through hunger because I thought maybe the next canvas would prove I deserved to exist. Lightning flashed between them, sharp and merciless. For a heartbeat, they saw each other fully, two people torn open by the people who should have protected them. I'm so angry, she whispered, shaking. At them, at you, At me. I don't know where to put it. Put it here. He stepped closer, hand pressing his chest. I can hold it. I've been holding storms my whole life. Her laugh broke into a sob. You'll hate me for it. I already don't, he said. Don't you see? I don't know how to not choose you. The words silenced the thunder in her mind. Her lips parted, breath caught, but fear returned just as fast. What if we ruin each other? We will, Eli admitted, eyes burning with rain and truth. But maybe ruin is just another word for rebuild. She stared at him, heart pounding like the sky itself. The storm rattled the lampposts, but inside her, another storm had cracked open. The words she'd caged for so long pressed against her teeth. I don't know how to be loved, she said, tears indistinguishable from the rain. I only know how to be compared, how to be forgotten, how to be— You are unforgettable, he interrupted, stepping closer. Do you hear me? Even if you tried to disappear, the world would scream your name in the way the light bends. I'd scream it too. Her knees almost gave. She gripped the railing, head shaking. You can't know that. I do, he said, firm, near desperate. Because every time you lift that camera, you change the air. You changed me, Emily. That first night, when you laughed at my bad tea, you carved a space in me I didn't know was empty, until it was full. Her throat closed. For the first time, she felt the depth of what she wanted. Not just to be seen, but to be chosen without condition. And here he was, offering it with paint-stained hands. She took a shaky step closer. Say it again, she whispered. He swallowed, rain dripping from his lashes. I choose you. Something broke inside her, something stitched back together at the same time. She reached for him before she could second-guess, her hand pressing against his soaked shirt, feeling the hammer of his heart. He gasped softly, as though her touch was both wound and pure. I'm scared, she said. So am I, he breathed. Lightning cracked, thunder roared, and in that violent orchestra they leaned into each other. Their lips met, desperate and trembling, the rain sliding between them like salt on a wound. His hands cupped her face, thumbs brushing her wet cheeks as if trying to erase every tear she'd ever shed. She clutched his shirt, pulling him closer, as if the storm itself might tear them apart. If she let go, the kiss was not gentle. It was survival, confession, surrender all at once. The taste of rain, the press of lips, the breath they shared, it blurred the line between pain and passion, until there was only truth left. When they pulled apart, gasping, foreheads pressed together, the storm seemed to quiet just slightly, as though granting them reprieve. Eli, her voice was barely audible, trembling. What if tomorrow I can't be brave? Then I'll be brave for both of us, he said. And when I can't, you'll be. That's what it means. Her chest heaved, breath tangled in his. She wanted to believe it. She wanted to carve it into her bones. For the first time, the possibility of a future didn't feel like a joke. It felt like a photograph waiting to be developed. But then, through the roar of rain, her phone buzzed again. Not just once over and over, insistent, angry, pulling the past into their fragile now. She pulled back, trembling. Eli's hand hovered near hers, not holding, but waiting. Don't answer, he said softly. Not tonight. Tonight is ours. Emily closed her eyes, tears mixing with storm water. Her heart wanted to stay in this moment forever, lips still tingling from his kiss. But part of her knew the world wasn't finished testing them. She opened her eyes. What if they never stop calling? Then let them, he said, voice fierce. You're not their echo anymore. She stared at him, chest aching with 1,000 emotions she couldn't name. She wanted to believe him, wanted to drown in the strength of his certainty. But as the storm howled and her phone buzzed, like a chain she hadn't cut yet. She realized love, even confessed, wasn't enough to erase the weight of the past. The storm wandered off toward the river, leaving the city rinsed and glittering. Emily and Eli walked back to the loft in a quiet that felt earned. Shoes squeaking, hair dripping, hands almost touching, but not quite. At the door, her phone vibrated again. She silenced it without looking inside. The room smelled like wet canvas. Eli set the kettle on, as if warmth were a verb. Emily stood by the window, watching clouds drag gray skirts across the buildings. Her heartbeat had gentled, but the past kept knocking from her pocket. "Do you want me to turn it off?" Eli asked. "I want it to forget me," she said, tucking the phone deeper. He nodded. "Tomorrow we'll get your documents," he said. In and out. She opened her mouth to agree. A fist pounded the hallway. "Emily!" Her father's voice boomed. "Open this door." Her breath disappeared. Eli looked to her for consent. She nodded. He lifted the latch. Her father pushed in on a gust of rain, jaw clenched. Her stepmother swept after him, perfume fighting the damp. Last came Chloe, dry as a rumor, mascara perfect, a sequin jacket catching every stray light. "What is this place?" Her stepmother demanded, gaze sweeping judgment across the canvases. "A studio," Eli said evenly. "Shoes off, please." Her father ignored him. His eyes found Emily. "Pack your things. We're going home." Home landed like a stone. "No," she said, surprised by her steadiness. "I don't live there." "You obey me?" he snapped. "After everything we've done, food, roof, kindness, you repay us with melodrama? You embarrassed your sister." Chloe folded her arms. "You ghosted us," she said. "You're selfish, selfish," Emily repeated. "You sold my camera." "We borrowed against it," her stepmother corrected. "Language matters." "You didn't ask," Emily said. "Consent matters more." Her father took a step. Eli stepped between them, a half-inch of protection that changed the room's grammar. "Sir," Eli said. "Please lower your voice. Who are you?" Her father demanded. "Eli," he answered. "Emily's friend." Chloe made a sound like a smirk. "A friend with a mattress on the floor. A mattress that has paid its rent." Eli said. The stepmother's eyes cut to an envelope peeking from under a sketch. "Has it?" she asked. Heat crawled up Emily's neck. She moved closer to Eli, not to hide, but to choose. "Stop scavenging for proof that I'm small," she said. "I'm not." Her father exhaled. "We are your family." "Family is everything." "Family is everything when it's safe," Emily said. "When it isn't, it's a trap with curtains." The kettle clicked off. Her stepmother softened the tone people used before applying pressure. "Sweetheart, we panicked," she said. "The party got expensive. Your father's hours were cut. We needed a win." "Chloe's letters. Chloe's wins are not receipts for my losses," Emily said. Chloe rolled her eyes. "You act like the camera was a wedding ring." "It was a promise," Emily said. "One I made to myself when no one else would." Her father's mouth tightened. "Be reasonable. Come home. We'll get you another camera when we can." "You said that before," she whispered. "It never meant now." He looked past her at Eli. "And you," he said, voice sharpening. "Stop interfering. You don't know my daughter." Eli's paint-stained hands opened, empty. "I know she sees the world the way light hopes to be seen," he said. "I know she deserves more than an apology paid with her own money." "Enough," her father said. "Get your bag." Fear rose wearing familiar shoes. Emily steadied herself on the window frame, grounding in this imperfect room that had taught her to breathe. "No," she said again, louder. "I'm not going." Chloe laughed, brittle. "Where will you even stay? With your starving artist?" With myself, Emily said. Her father's eyes flashed. For a heartbeat, she thought he might grab her. Eli's body shifted, quiet and ready. Her stepmother tried a new angle. Think of appearances, she said. People will talk. They'll say your own family couldn't keep you. Maybe they'll ask why, Emily answered. Maybe they'll understand before you do. Enough, her father repeated, but softer, as if he could hear the echo wearing him down. He dragged a hand over his face. We were scared, he muttered. Bills, the party. We needed something to go right. Something, Emily said, other than me. The truth hurt them all. It hung in the room. His shoulders slumped. Come home, he said again, now only habit. I'll come by tomorrow, Emily said, to collect my documents. That's all. Her stepmother stiffened. So you can run around with this person? With paint under his nails? With my own life, Emily said. I am not yours to arrange. Chloe lifted her phone and snapped a photo of the room, as if capturing evidence. When this falls apart, don't come crying, she said. When what falls apart? Emily asked. Your little rebellion, Chloe said. It isn't a rebellion, Emily said. It's a beginning. Her father looked at Eli again. If she gets hurt, I'll be here, Eli said. And if I fail her, she'll leave. Emily felt the promise in her rib cage like a new organ. At the door, her father paused. Tomorrow, he said. No scenes, no theft, Emily answered. They left like weather exiting a room. Eli closed the door gently and leaned his forehead to the wood, breathing once as if thanking it for surviving. Emily's knees softened. He opened his arms. She stepped into them, forehead to his shoulder, the wet fabric smelling of rain and something like hope. You were, he began. Shaking. She finished. Brave, he said. I almost wasn't. Almost doesn't count, he said. You chose you? The room settled. Eli poured the tea, because ritual repairs what words break. They drank standing up, like people returning from trial. Tomorrow I'll drive, he said. You don't have to walk into that house alone. You won't come in, she said. Not unless you ask. On the table, the film camera waited. She ran a finger along the leather. I want to shoot the light after storms, she said. It has that apology in it. Then we'll chase it, he said. She looked around with new eyes. A drop cloth at the back shifted in the vent's breath. A corner of canvas peaked flesh tones, a dark sweep of hair. She had never noticed it. What's this one? She asked, walking over. Which? Eli said, too casual. She pinched the cloth and it slipped, revealing a portrait. A woman 3/4 turned, laughing at something outside the frame. Gold earrings, a collarbone rendered with care. She's beautiful, Emily said. Eli crossed the room too quickly. It's old, he said, pulling the cloth back up. A study. It shouldn't have been out. Who is she? The question left before she could soften it. No one, he said, too fast. Jealousy arrived anyway, whispering old refrains. Replaceable second. Shadow. I'm going to shower, she said. The storm's still in my hair. Use the hot water first, he said. It gets shy after 5 minutes. Steam lifted behind the bathroom door. Eli moved canvas's soft thuds, careful rearrangements. When she stepped out, wrapped in a towel, the drop cloth was doubled, the portrait buried. Better? He asked. Cleaner, she said. They smiled without settling the new question. Night pressed at the windows. A city replaced thunder with distant sirens. Emily set the camera in the bag she would take tomorrow, then lay on the bed. Eli lay on the rug. Sleep? He asked. In theory, she said. Sleep did not arrive quickly. She counted slow ticks and tried to name what tugged at her relief. Yes, and the sting that follows it, but also a question without a house. Who laughs like that on a canvas you hide? Why hide it at all? She told herself it was nothing. Artists keep studies the way seas keep old tides. Yet a picture is proof that somebody lived long enough to be tender. From the rug, Eli shifted. "You okay?" he asked into the dark. "I will be," she said. "Tomorrow, eventually. Tomorrow," he echoed, letting the word float. "We'll move like ghosts. Grab your things." Emily let her lungs unclench. "And after?" "After," he said, "we work on beginnings." She wanted to believe him. She wanted the portrait to be only paint. But the longer she listened, she could hear the canvas breathing behind cloth, waiting to name itself. Sleep came at last. Asterisk. A morning after her family's visit was oddly still. No fists on doors, no sharp voices slicing the air. Yet Emily felt the echoes inside her chest, like an orchestra still humming long after the final note. She poured coffee into 2 chipped mugs. Her hands trembling, though, she told herself it was only the caffeine. Eli stretched on the rug, hair tousled, shirt creased with sleep. He looked almost boyish, as though storms had never lived in him. She set the mug down beside him. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. "You didn't sleep?" he said softly. "Neither did you?" Silence stretched. Outside, the city carried on with ordinary sounds, horns, footsteps, pigeons clattering against the ledge. Inside, the air felt fragile, like one wrong word might shatter it. Emily tried to sip her coffee, but her eyes drifted again to the corner where the drop cloth sagged just enough to show a glint of gold. That hidden painting had lodged itself in her thoughts all night, the curve of a collarbone, the laugh caught mid-breath. She hated herself for caring. She hated him for hiding it. "Eli," she said carefully. "Who is she?" He followed her gaze, then back to her. "A study old. Doesn't matter." "That's not an answer." He sat up, rubbing the back of his neck. "Emily, please. She isn't anyone to worry about." "But you hide her," Emily said, her voice sharper now. "If it was nothing, why cover her up like a secret?" Eli's jaw tightened. "Because she is nothing. Just paint. Not every canvas has a ghost." The word struck her, not for what they said, but what they didn't. She felt the familiar burn of invisibility, the way her father's voice used to erase her. Just paint. Just a hobby. Just a shadow. Her hands trembled around the mug. "Do you know what that sounds like?" She whispered. "It sounds like when they told me my camera was just a camera." Eli flinched, as though she had hit him. "That's not fair." "Maybe not," she admitted, setting the mug down before it spilled. "But you didn't tell me. And now I can't stop seeing her." The room pressed in. His eyes carried storms, but not the soft kind that ended with apologies. These were storms made of pride and silence. "I don't know how to explain. Every canvas I've ever painted," he said finally. "Sometimes I paint because I'm lonely. Sometimes because I'm angry. Sometimes because I see beauty I'll never touch. That doesn't mean I love someone else." Emily swallowed hard. "But you loved enough to remember her?" His voice softened, breaking a little. "Emily, I don't even remember her name." Her stomach twisted. Was that better or worse? A day dragged, heavy with unsaid things. Emily tried to distract herself photographing light on the windowsill, capturing shadows of pigeons on the rooftop. But the camera felt heavier in her hands, like it too was asking questions she couldn't answer. When Eli returned from the corner store with groceries, she was standing by the veiled painting. He froze in the doorway, paper bag in hand. "Don't," he said quietly. She pulled the cloth anyway. The portrait gleamed in sudden daylight, the woman's laughter eternal, her eyes alive with some secret only Eli had once known. Emily's breath caught. The ache was instant, a blade sliding into old wounds. "She's beautiful," she said. And you kept her. Eli set the bag down too hard. Apples rolled across the floor. I told you, she doesn't matter. And why can't I stop feeling like she does? Emily cried. Her voice cracked, desperate, raw. Do you know what it's like to always be second? To always wonder who the real choice was? He crossed the room in 2 strides, hands gripping her shoulders, not rough, but firm, grounding. Look at me. You're the choice. I didn't ask her to stay. I didn't ask anyone. But I asked you. I chose you. Her tears blurred his face. She wanted to believe him. She wanted to wrap the words around her heart like armor. But trust felt like a rope frayed at both ends, ready to snap. You should have told me, she whispered. Secrets grow teeth in the dark. He let go, stepping back. His expression was torn open, paint-smeared vulnerability. I'm not used to anyone staying long enough to explain. I didn't know I had to. That sentence cracked something deeper than anger. He wasn't hiding her out of malice. He was hiding himself. His fear, his loneliness. The silence he'd lived with for too long. Emily wiped her face, breathing ragged. Then let me stay long enough, she said softly. But you have to let me see all of you. Even the ugly parts. Especially those. For a moment, the storm between them quieted. His eyes searched hers, something trembling inside him. He nodded once, a small broken vow. They stood in the heavy silence. 2 people learning that love wasn't just confession. It was the willingness to stand inside each other's shadows without running. Morning arrives as a careful kind of quiet. Emily wakes before buses cough up their roots, before pigeons shuffle on the ledge. She listens to the loft, the tick of the wall clock, the soft complaint of pipes, the hushed sway of drop cloths. Eli sleeps on the rug, one arm over his eyes, palm open toward the ceiling, as if his hand still remembers. Her gaze drifts to the veiled portrait in the corner. The cloth lifts with each breath the room takes. The old weight settles on her ribs, the belief that love rents thin walls. She sits up, ties her hair, and begins to pack. It isn't dramatic. It is practiced: shirt, socks, the small tin of film, a comb with 3 missing teeth, the envelope of prints she keeps like folded prayers. The camera goes last, placed on top as if sheltering a heartbeat. The zipper rasps. Eli stirs. Too early, he mumbles, then blinks awake. What are you doing? Making space, she says, aiming for lightness and missing. I'll get my documents from the house today. After that, I should find a place. He sits up. A place? This is a place. It's your place, she answers gently. I've been a storm inside it. I've painted storms here for years, he says. It's built for weather. She almost smiles. I don't know if I can keep living in the parentheses of other people's lives. You aren't a parenthesis, he says, standing. You're the sentence. Her eyes slide to the portrait's corner, peeking from the cloth, like a blink that won't close. Then tell me the truth about her. His jaw tightens. You already know the truth that matters. What matters is what haunts, she replies. And I'm haunted. They let silence move the furniture between them. He nods once, a verdict he doesn't believe. If you leave because of a ghost, the ghost wins, he says. But I won't lock the door. I don't lock doors against people I would rather keep. I'm not punishing you, she says, closing the bag. I'm preserving whatever softness I have left. So am I, he answers, and the gentleness almost undoes her. They move around each other like careful strangers. He makes coffee. The smell goes soft at the edges. She stands at the window, watching the first bus sigh past, its lights blinking like tired eyelids. She thinks of the party caption about family, the word reasonable dressed like a saint. She thinks of Eli's voice on the bridge, I choose you, and of the portrait, Laughing in a language she can't translate, he sets a mug at her place out of habit. It stabs and soothes at once. "I'll drive you," he says. "To your parents?" "No," she answers. "I can do this alone." "I know you can," he replies. "That isn't the point. I don't want you inside their version of me," she says. "It stains." He takes the blow, then nods. "At least take the umbrella that refuses to behave. It matches our brand." She exhales a crease of a laugh. "Okay." She shoulders the bag, then pauses. One photo remains on the wall, the lamppost in rain from the night they met, the glow fractured into petals. She crosses the room to take it down. The nail comes too, and the plaster around it breaks like a dry whisper. Behind it, an index card waits, taped to the wall. A pencil sketch of a woman asleep under a slanted window, hair fanned like a question. Her. "What's that?" Eli asks from the counter, pretending not to watch. "You taped me to the wall," she says, floored, his ears pink. "I was going to paint over it." "I didn't want you to feel collected." She slides the card free. A faint rectangle shadows the plaster beneath, the size of a photograph. "Did something hang here before this?" He hesitates, then nods. "A picture. I took it down this morning. It felt like leaving a light on in a room where someone might not return." "What picture?" "The first night," he says. "You fell asleep with your hand on the camera bag. I printed a terrible phone photo, so I wouldn't paint you without permission. You hid it. I hid it so you wouldn't feel hunted," he says. "But I wanted to remember the way the loft changed shape when you breathed." Emily looks around as if the room might confess more. The canvases stand like tall windows into weather. She has seen storms, pears, waves. Now she sees a constant she missed. The slanted triangle of window in almost every background. A curve of blanket folded the same way. A stubborn lamp leaning left like a person listening hard. In one street scene, a tiny figure crosses the road with her exact walk. In the storm she loved first, a narrow profile ghosts along the seam of the window. "You've been painting me," she says. "Barely air." "Not you," he says quickly. "What the room became with you inside it." "If there's a difference." "Why didn't you say?" "Because I was scared," he answers. "Because I wanted to learn how to love something without grabbing. Because everything I've loved has been taken or laughed at or pawned. Because I didn't want to turn you into proof." Tears come. Not the wild kind of bridges and thunder, but the quiet kind that loosen knots. "I thought leaving would protect me," she whispers. "Maybe I've rehearsed departures so long I forgot how to stay." "I'm not asking you to stay," he says, though his hands tremble. "I'm asking you to choose what keeps you whole. If that's a key to this door, I'll copy it. If it's a map away from me, I'll draw it clean." "Stop being good," she says, laughing and crying. "It makes leaving harder." "I'm not being good," he says. "I'm being honest." "My honesty is messy. It hides drawings and drops apples and talks when it should listen." She sets the bag down. The sound is a question. "Show me all the places I didn't see myself." They walk the room like people in a small museum that belongs to both of them. He points to a glaze where the kettle carries a moon-shaped smudge. She points to the line of a shadow that looks like her camera strap. He lifts a small panel of a pear and traces negative space that matches the curve of her shoulder. Painted from memory, not from pose. Everywhere, the loft has learned her shape and answered in paint. Her heart does an impossible thing. It stays. "Can I?" She reaches for his hand. "It is paint dry and human warm. You don't have to decide today," he says. "I do," she answers softly. "I decide every day. Today I choose to get my documents so I can stop pretending I belong to people who sell me. Today I choose to bring the camera back to this slanted light after. And today I choose to ask for the story of the laughing woman, even if it hurts. Her name was Nora, he says. We were briefly a nearly. She left when the roof leaked on the painting. I kept the portrait because it taught me where to put the seam of light. I didn't cover it to hide her. I covered it because I didn't want you learning about me from dust. Thank you, she says. For being clumsy? He asks, for telling me the thing I was afraid to ask. The clock ticks like a metronome. The street brightens into mid-morning. She picks up the bag again, lighter now, because some weight has moved to the hand she holds. Will you wait for me? She asks. I'll make coffee and try not to paint you by accident, he says. I will absolutely fail. She smiles and opens the door. From the kitchen, the kettle offers an impatient hiss, as if reminding them that mornings are made of ordinary vows. Water, heat, waiting. She tucks a strand behind her ear, tastes metal and coffee, and nods to a future that feels reachable. In the hallway, the light is grainier, honest. She begins to walk, then stops after 3 steps. Behind a raft of taped flyers, a curl of photographic paper peeks out. She tugs it free. A small, underexposed printer, night one, asleep under the slanted window, hand on the camera bag. Not staged. A devotion caught by a bad phone and a worse printer. She turns it over. On the back, in pencil, first quiet. Her breath leaves like a soft door closing. She looks back. Eli stands in the doorway, uncertain as a beginning. She returns, places the photo in his palm, and nudges his fingers closed around it, like teaching them to pray. First quiet, she says. Let's see if we can make a second. His eyes shine. Go be brave. I am, she says, and means it. She steps into the stairwell, heart hammering like a runner at the first curve. The city waits below, messy and necessary. The past waits across town, brittle and loud. She adjusts the bag, grips the unruly umbrella, and starts down, counting the steps like frames she can finally claim. The address her father sent was the same house she had left behind, the same narrow steps, the same faded curtains that had always managed to block out more light than they let in. Emily stood at the gate with her bag strap pulled tight against her shoulder. Her pulse raced, but it wasn't fear alone. It was the weight of decision. She could walk away. She could vanish into the city, into Eli's half-painted storms and chipped mugs. But the message had been clear. Come alone. If she was to cut the rope, she had to walk through the knot first. The door opened before she knocked. Chloe leaned against the frame, perfectly put together as though the rain had never touched her. You came, she said, voice sweetened with victory. I came for my documents, Emily replied. Chloe stepped aside. They're inside. But Dad wants to talk. The living room smelled of coffee burned thin, of perfume clinging to old fabric. Her father sat in his chair, her stepmother perched beside him, both watching her as though she were an intruder in a house she had scrubbed floors. In. Sit. Her father ordered. Emily remained standing. I won't stay long. Her stepmother folded her hands. We're worried, Emily. You're throwing away your future for. What? Some boy with paint on his hands? Her chest burned, but her voice stayed even. No, I'm building my future with my own hands. For once, that has to be enough, Chloe scoffed. Future? You're playing house with a starving artist. At least here you had security. Security? Emily's laugh was sharp, cutting the air. You call it security when I was invisible in every room? When you stole the one thing I built for myself and sold it like it was scrap? Her father slammed his palm on the armrest. We gave you everything. Food, shelter, family. You gave me conditions, she said, her voice rising now. Love that had receipts. Support that could be auctioned. You didn't want me. You wanted obedience. But I am done paying for a place at your table. The silence that followed was a silence she had never heard in this house before. Not victory, not surrender, just truth. Heavy and unvabl. Her stepmother shifted, eyes narrowing. You sound ungrateful. I'm finally grateful, Emily countered, tears stinging but not falling. Grateful I had the strength to leave before you sold what little I had left. Her father's jaw worked, but no words came. Chloe muttered something under her breath, but Emily didn't chase it. She walked to the cabinet where the family kept envelopes, bills, and tucked away papers. She found her birth certificate, her ID, her passport. Each document felt like a key she was reclaiming from a lock that had never been hers. She turned toward the door. I'm done here. Her father half rose. If you leave now, she met his eyes. I already did. Her hand trembled as she gripped the doorknob. For a moment, the weight of all those years pressed against her back, the little girl waiting for applause that never came, the teenager clutching coins for a camera no one believed she'd buy, the daughter told to shrink so someone else could shine. She inhaled, straightened, and stepped out. The air outside felt lighter. A familiar figure leaned against the car, parked at the curb. Eli, arms crossed, rain drying in his curls. You weren't supposed to come, she said, though relief washed through her. I wasn't going to let you walk out alone, he said simply. Something cracked then, not in her, but in the walls she had carried. She let out a sob she hadn't planned, and Eli caught her, arms warm and steady. She pressed her forehead to his chest, clutching her documents against him as though proof of her existence needed witness. I told them, she whispered. I know, he said. I heard enough. They'll never forgive me. Then forgive yourself louder, he replied. They drove back in silence, but it was not the silence of absence. It was the silence of recovery, of two people breathing the same rhythm. When they reached the loft, morning light was just beginning to break through the clouds. The room looked different, softer, as though the walls themselves had waited for her return. On the table lay a small black case. Emily frowned. What's that? Eli picked it up, holding it carefully. His voice was almost shy. I wanted to wait until you came back with your documents. Until you chose yourself first. But I can't keep it hidden anymore. He opened the case. Her breath caught. It was her camera. Not the old one, hers. The very same model her parents had sold, the one she had thought gone forever. The scratches on the side, the worn leather strap, even the faint smudge of ink near the shutter button where she once dropped a pen. How? Her voice broke. I tracked the buyer, Eli said softly. Sold 3 canvases I didn't want to part with. Begged a favor from a friend. And when I saw it again, I knew it belonged in your hands. Not as a gift from me. As a return of what was stolen. Tears spilled freely now, running hot down her cheeks. She touched the camera as though afraid it might vanish again. You brought it back. I brought you back, he corrected. She lifted the camera, the weight familiar, the balance perfect. Sunlight slid through the slanted window, scattering dust motes into gold. She raised the lens, framing Eli paint smudged on his jaw, eyes tired but unyielding, standing like the anchor she never thought she'd find. The shutter clicked, dotted, sounded like a vow. She lowered the camera, her smile trembling. That's our first picture. Eli stepped closer, brushing a strand of wet hair from her face. Not our last. Their lips met this time, not desperate like in the storm, but steady, deliberate, as if sealing something that would hold against weather. His hands cupped her face, hers pressed against his chest, and the world outside the loft seemed to dissolve, leaving only the two of them suspended in light. When they broke apart, breathless, she whispered, I was so afraid love would always mean losing myself. And now? He asked, "Now I think love means choosing," she said, "every single day. And I choose you." The room seemed to exhale with them. She set the camera on the table, not as an object of fear, but as a promise. The light through the cracked window widened, spilling across canvases that no longer looked unfinished. She reached for Eli's hand, threading her fingers through his paint-stained ones. "Let's start again," she said. He squeezed her hand, smiling. "Not again. Let's just start." They stood together, morning unfolding around them, two people carrying storms but building light.